Has this ever happened to you? You've got this nice looking image on your screen. Maybe it looks kind of like mine here. It's a good size. You send it to the printer and pages and pages start coming out as the image is huge and printed on multiple sheets of paper like a huge poster of some kind. Or maybe it's the reverse where you send it to the printer and it comes out looking like a postage stamp at the other end. Well, that usually means that the image needs to be resized, at least resized to a proper print size. But when that happens, things are going on in the background that you need to know about. It's really easy to resize in PaintShop Pro Photo 12, but you do need to be aware of what's going on. So that's what we're going to look at now. Starting with resizing this image that's called Resize. And you can get this image and the other one, 2 pixel, out of your 03 editing folder of your exercise files. We're going to work on this one first, called Resize. Now right away at the top I can see something that's giving me some information here. This is a good size on my screen. If I look at it, it's actually apparently 15% of the actual size when it prints. So that I need to be aware of when I go into Resize. How do I get there? A couple different ways. We can do it here from the Learning Center. And you can see under Adjust, I've got Resize down near the bottom. I can also access that from the Image menu. And up near the top, I've got Resize. Either way, it's going to open up this dialog box. And you can see some information that's going to be very helpful now as we resize this image. Down the left-hand side, we've got the original numbers for this image, including the width, height, the resolution, and even pixel dimensions down here. I want you to watch what happens down here especially. The width looks like 48 inches. That's 4 feet wide and 32 inches tall. That's why if we were to send this to the printer, it would need multiple sheets of paper. The resolution is coming out at 72 dots per inch. So if I want to change the size of my image to fit on a smaller piece of paper, like a 7-inch wide piece of paper, I put in 7 here for the width, and you can see things are being adjusted for me. Look down here, the height is not quite 5 inches tall. The resolution stays at 72 dots per inch, which means, of course, in a smaller area, that pixels are going to be removed from my image for me. That's why down here, when we see the original pixel dimensions at over 3,000 wide and over 2,000 tall, we're coming down to just over 500 wide and just over 300 tall. So pixels have to be pulled out of my image to make it fit on that printout. So if I don't want that happening, there are some things I can do, but I want you to see the effects. I'm going to click Cancel here. We're going to move over to this one called 2 pixel. Now this is actually 4 pixels, 2 by 2. We've got 2 black ones and 2 white ones. A nice crisp image. Look what happens when we go to resize it. So I'm going to go up to Image, click on Resize. Down below here you can see it is indeed 2 pixels wide by 2 pixels high. And if I come up here to the width, look at that, it's 0.03 inches wide, 0.03 inches tall. If I want this to be maybe 4 by 4, for example, I could type in 4. And then 4, and look at that. Look at the width and the height here in pixels. That means lots and lots of pixels are going to be added for me. So let's see what happens if we change this. I'm going to change it to just 1 inch by 1 inch. Now I've got 72 pixels. I click OK. Look at my image here. It was a nice crisp image. You can see I've still got black in the top left corner and the bottom right corner. I've still got white up here, down here. But in between, pixels had to be added and shades of gray were added for me by the software because it's trying to guess what it should look like. Okay, I'm going to click Undo. Now we're back to the original. I'm just going to open that up and zoom in a little bit. Let's see what happens when we size this down. So I'm going to go back up to Image and I'm going to go to Resize. And I'm going to size this down now. So instead of 2 by 2, I'm going to knock it down to 1 by 1. Click OK. Well, it looks like 1 gray pixel. So somewhere between black and white, we've got gray. It looks nothing like the original, and that's the danger of removing pixels, or the reverse that we just saw a moment ago, adding pixels. I'm going to close this without saving it. And we're going to keep all of that in mind as we work with this image now. So again, we'll go up to Image. We'll go to Resize. And we'll keep in mind what's happening here. If I don't want pixels to be removed, in other words, if I change this to 7, and I want this to remain the same number of pixels, I need to access my advanced settings. because what's happening is something called resampling. Now we saw that we couldn't change the width and the height to be out of their aspect ratio. In other words, when I typed in 7, the height was automatic, and that's because the aspect ratio is locked here. And we do want to keep it that way or we'll distort our image. So we'll leave that turned on, but we're going to turn off the resampling. So notice as soon as we do that, now we can't change or have the pixels changed for us in the pixel dimensions section here. So when I choose 7 inches now in width, yes, my height is changed, but look what happened to the resolution. Instead of 72 dots per inch, I'm going to end up with almost 500 dots per inch, which means I'm not losing any of my pixels. They stay the same down here. This is a very high resolution for printing a 7-inch wide sheet of paper, probably more than it needs to be, but I'm going to be confident that nothing will be removed. So when I click OK, got a little bit larger here, but we're still at 20%. This is going to print properly for me, and I'm not going to lose any of my detail. So, resizing, very simple. Image menu, or come to resize here under the adjust section of your Learning Center. But keep in mind what's happening when you resize images. Pixels are being removed or added unless you turn that resampling off. So keep that in mind under the advanced options of the resize dialog box.